I've seen him do national interviews, and I was far more impressed with him yesterday than I was in any of the national interviews.
Okay, so Andrew and I briefly talked about this. Is the thing that you liked about he has a reputation of being super extreme, right?
Very much so, and I felt that I didn't feel that yesterday. And super extreme when it comes to being pro-Trump,
right?
Like when I watched them on the Chris Wallace Fox News Sunday, they sounded like two guys that were mad because they were no longer in the favor of the White House, and they were like, they should be asking for our help. I mean, we're the biggest Trump supporters out there. I mean, it just sounded so juvenile.
Right.
But he did not come across that way in this interview, and you'll hear it coming up. I want you to pay particular interest to the topic of media. I thought that was kind of, what in the hell is going on with your face?
It'll come and pass. Hopefully it'll pass quicker than it came.
Holy moly.
Well, it's too late for that, I'd say.
Yeah, Smitty's.
I do feel like it's subsiding just a little bit.
This is so weird because I was saying, well, clearly
you look like a bandit with a red mask,
right? Because the way it covers his
it's
brow and around his eyes.
I don't know.
Raccoon or the Lone Ranger?
You're
the Lone Rasher is what you are.
It's a hiver, okay? Rash is something that's weird, but no, this happens to me like it's like when the cicadas come out.
You must have eaten something.
Yeah, well, yeah,
or come in contact with something.
It's all it does. I don't have any known allergies.
For those that can't see this, and it's even probably hard to see on TV. Oh, apparently it's itchy. Okay,
little, yeah.
Davey's on his way for Benadryl right now. He'll be back with Benadryl,
which will be fun for me the rest of the morning.
In full exploitation mode, we did put pictures of Andrew on our Facebook page.
I can't believe you turned like beet red, and it
was as soon as he started reading the sports. I don't know what it was.
So that's the funny thing. Did you eat something after you did the news?
No, right?
Okay, so
no.
I looked at him when he finished the weather and said, I don't know, you hit the bed and it was sports time. I looked at you. You did not look like this. Halfway through my sports, I happened to glance up and noticed your forehead was all red. You didn't
before
eat
you
anything,
saw it.
it's
something that it's not a chemical. It's all natural. It's like a powder that I drink in the morning when on an empty stomach. And I've been having it the last week and a half. I'm wondering if that was.
You had clearly have a allergic reaction. Do I have any at Fox here?
Not here, no.
Okay.
Because we're playing Lewandowski, and
they
were booked up in that first half.
All right, fair enough. Okay. Well, anyway.
But anyway, he was doing the sports, and
you seem okay. And it seems like you're coming down a little bit.
Yeah. It's going to come in fast.
This morning, I'm really excited. We'll have the DA and lead prosecutor on that Utica College trial of the kid who's now been found guilty for calling in 2 days' worth of threats into the campus at Utica College and was actually on campus. You know the story. And a very odd defense, as he took the stand for himself, said that he was addicted to pills that you would take for attention deficit. And what was the medication again?
Adderall.
Which we've all heard stories of Adderall on college campuses where you take them when you're cramming for a test or a big project you're trying to get done and you need focus, you need to be awake, but not 15, 16 pills a day. So clearly the prosecution did not buy into it, and I watched some of the testimony by Grant Garamone. I'm sorry, some of the prosecution by Brett Garamone. He totally did not buy into this, and actually said this is made up in your head. Clearly the jury kind of felt the same way, or at the very least had no leniency on the fact that he claims he had no idea what he was doing. Now, what is interesting is how quickly a decision in your life can completely change and alter your life significantly.
Yeah, I mean...
this 2 days of stupidity that he should have known better. And maybe it was the drugs. Maybe it's true. I don't necessarily believe it either. But 2 days of moronic stupidity is going to cost him probably... I think he's going to do better than 10 years in jail.
Yeah, and I absolutely think he will. I can't remember the plea offer. Do you remember the plea offer? We talked about it.
I believe the plea deal was 8 to 10. But he now faces 14. What does he face?
Yeah, 2 to 7 on each.
2 to
7
each,
on
yeah.
each.
Incident. And they characterize the two each day as a separate incident.
Yeah.
I could almost, I would be shocked if it was less than that. You seldom see where if a defendant is offered a plea bargain.
Which I don't think it was any great plea deal.
I don't think it was either.
There's still a lot of time. Yeah.
The fact that he decided to go to trial and argue it and was found guilty, you almost never see the sentence come in less than what the offer was.
And the question I have for the DA this morning that I really want the answer to, and they really probably can't give me the answer, but they can give me their opinion, is this whole Adderall thing. I feel that's going to sway the judge when it comes to sentencing one way or the other. Either leniency or the absolute opposite of that. Like, had you come out here on the stand, I'm the judge now, had you come out here on the stand and told me the truth and showed remorse, it would have been different. But instead, you came out and I believe you lied to us and you made up some cockamamie story about Adderall. And for that reason, I'm giving you the maximum sentence.
Objection, Your Honor.
You can object all you want. I'm the judge here. There, red face. So I kind of wonder, did they offer up any evidence that he was on this Adderall? And so far, I don't believe anything I've seen they did. He says there's this man named Jason or something that is Jay. This Jay guy who's a white Adderall salesman on campus, and that was his drug dealer. And Jay, if you're out there, give us a call. I'd love to hear from you. It probably would help this kid in sentencing. Yeah, I was giving him the Adderall pills. I said take 15 or 16. You won't know what you're doing. And isn't Adderall supposed to do the exact opposite? Like, you're hyper-focused.
You remember everything.
The details come out.
Supposedly, yeah.
I guess.
I have heard sometimes if someone were to take well, I'll use Adderall as an example, that maybe it doesn't have the same effect if you don't have the condition that it's prescribed for. But, you would assume.
I almost feel like sometimes they tell you that stuff.
Yeah.
To avoid you from.
Yeah, because
each drug has a specific purpose and impact.
And impact on the body.
We're going to talk about the toy drive and Operation Sunshine and Toys for Tots this morning. Katie's in from the Observer Dispatch. Hobaika's on. I want to clarify a few things when it comes to that school safety project. We'll speak with him. And that is the deal put together with the county for the city of Utica, mainly the elementary schools, right? Already security is in place at the middle school and the high school. But big this morning, as I said, Scott McNamara and Grant Garamone to talk about the conclusion of that trial. We have in studio, I'm really excited to have her in, the winner of the 119th Assembly seat, which is currently held by Anthony Brindisi. Marianne Buttonshot will be on the radio. Brandon's picks of the week. Nagel is in from the Buried Acorn Brewery with his craft brew of the week, and I got a whole bunch of other stuff we have to get into, including, I got to tell you, the Utica City FC is playing, and if you've not seen any of this, opening day was amazing. They're now 2-0, and they're playing at home on Sunday, and we've worked out a little something where we can give away some tickets and I really would love it to go to people that might be like, well, I've really never seen indoor soccer before, and I hear this is awesome. I want to experience it. So we'll give away some tickets every hour this morning for Sunday's game.
Awesome.
Pretty excited about that.
Did you save some for us?
I was going to do one right now, but I feel like people will be worried that if they call, they'll catch what Andrew has over the phone. So I certainly don't want you to go through that.
Yeah,
all right, how much of yesterday did you watch? Yeah, if you see his face, I mean, it's coming down a little bit. It is.
No,
it is.
It just comes in patches.
How, did anybody, did you watch any of yesterday?
Yeah, and I watched George W., and it was
it was
incredible.
Hard to watch. Hard to watch.
Before you jump into that, a picture being worth 1,000 words, the Trumps next to the Obamas, next to the Clintons, next to Jimmy Carter. That was.
It made me happy.
I kind of walked in, and I happened to look up at the screen. I'm like, wow, that's a picture right there, isn't it?
What I would want is not the picture. I would want to have heard the voices inside the heads. That's what I would like. You did see where Obama shook the hand of President Trump and Melania, and
Michelle.
And Michelle Obama as well.
Bill wanted the shake, I think. He had the look that.
But I got to tell you though, that is just. It doesn't mean they like each other.
Right.
It doesn't mean they necessarily respect each other. No one's asking for that. It's just common decency. It's the way it should be. And the other thing is, the president has really laid off his mean tweets over the last couple of days, and that's a real positive, I believe. And it was big for George H.W. Bush. He could have had any funeral he wanted. And it could have been like John McCain, where he said, you know what, I don't want the president, I don't want him there. And he didn't. He did what was best for the country, which is so typical when you learn about George H.W. Bush. Here's the former president, 43, George W. Bush, speaking about his dad. And it was, boy, if you weren't brought to tears watching this, I give you all the credit in the world. But this was really tough to watch. Now you can listen to it. Sorry about that. But here's what he had to say.
Last Friday, when I was told he had minutes to live, I called him. The guy answered the phone, said I think he can hear you, but he hadn't said anything for most of the day. I said, Dad, I love you, and you've been a wonderful father. And the last words he would ever say on earth were, I love you too. To us, he was close to perfect. But not totally perfect. His short game was lousy. He wasn't exactly Fred Astaire on the dance floor. The man couldn't stomach vegetables, especially broccoli. And by the way, he passed these genetic defects along to us. Finally, every day of his 73 years of marriage, Dad taught us all what it means to be a great husband. Well, Dad, we're going to remember you for exactly that and much more. And we're going to miss you. Your decency, sincerity, and kind soul will stay with us forever. So through our tears, let us know the blessings.
I hate it why this thing keeps cutting out on me, and it only does it on some clips. But anyway, it's good because the really emotional part just got cut off.
Yeah.
It was tough to watch.
Where he was so strong.
He was so strong through the whole thing.
And then he says dad
he
or father. And then,
yeah, it was something to watch. And really, I think, interestingly, I almost feel like this was something right now, especially after these midterms and after the back and forth between Trump and everybody else. I kind of feel like this was good medicine for the country, especially going into the holidays. It'll subside just like Andrew's rash. Believe me.
It's hives.
We'll be back to hate. Sorry. It'll subside just like Andrew's hives.
He's like offended that you're calling it
a rash.
A rash.
Yeah. It is a rash, man. It's
hives.
Okay. The result of hives is a rash.
I'm itching now. I'm not getting.
I'm itching too. I feel like this is like spreading or something. Anyway, for those that just tuned in, Andrew out of nowhere just developed this bright red rash, a.k.a. hives, all over his face and arms and back. And you can't see the back because there's so much hair on his back. But
that's why we're not really sure what happened at first.
We're not.
But when it went to the face, that's when we
My
know.
guess is that you came in contact with something.
Yeah.
You never know. It could be laundry detergent. It's really weird how these things work. On the line right now, he has a new book out, along with his co-author, David Bossy. The book is Let Trump... the title of the book is Trump's Enemies, How the Deep State is Undermining the Presidency. And the message is Let Trump be Trump as well, along with his other blockbuster book. Either way, Corey Lewandowski is a fan of this president. He's on the line right now. Good morning, Corey. How are you?
I'm well. How are you this morning?
Wonderful. Thanks for coming on. The new book talks about the president's enemies who might not necessarily be Democrats, right?
Well, that's right. Look, the new book called Trump's Enemies outlines the members of the deep state, and what that deep state really is are the holdover bureaucrats who go from administration to administration, regardless of who the president is, and their ability to stop a president's agenda. And to be clear, these are the same individuals that Barack Obama complained about at some of the government agencies, But the difference with this president is he came to Washington, D.C. as a truly disruptive force, and they see that the gravy train is coming to an end, so they're doing everything they can to stop this president's agenda.
Do you? Critics would say the president is not emptying the swamp. In fact, he's adding swamp-like figures to the swamp. And what you're saying, though, is the president's trying to empty the swamp, but it's that Washington establishment on both sides of the aisle that's preventing him from doing it.
Well, there is clearly some of that. But look, this president came to Washington, D.C., and we're very candid in this book about some of the people who came with him didn't support him when he was a candidate, didn't vote for him when he was on the ballot, and found a way to weasel their way into Washington's, upper echelon. Guys like Sean Spicer and Rob Porter and Gary Cohn and Rex Tillerson and those individuals who didn't support the Trump-Pence agenda. And Donald Trump has gotten rid of those people. And look at the people he's brought in now. John Bolton, a phenomenal addition to the national security team. Larry Kudlow on the economic team. Bill Shine on the communications team. Mike Pompeo, as the Secretary of State, has just done a phenomenal job. Those are the types of people that need to be surrounding this president and making sure he's getting the right information.
Now, did you get the best of John Kelly, or did he get the best of you?
Look, I'll tell you something. I grew up in Lowell, Massachusetts. I don't know if you know where that is.
I do. I worked in Providence.
It's a tough place to grow up in, and if I got to bet on somebody in a street fight, I'm betting on me every time. I hundreds of them.
That's funny. You didn't say that in the interview with Chris Wallace, but in the aftermath, you did say that. I was very surprised. You said, I don't care what you say. I think I get the best of John Kelly. It was. I know you're not talking about it, and if you're not going to tell Chris Wallace, you're not going to tell me. But some hints here. It really was a physical. I mean, he physically tried to remove you, right?
Well, look, John is very jealous of my relationship with the president. We write about this in the book. John Kelly wants Dave Bossie and I, two of the best outside advisors to the president, two of the people who are on TV every day. He doesn't like us talking to the president and giving him the information, and so he demeans us by putting us on the escort required list at the White House, which is a requirement that very few people have. But that's okay. I don't mind because my relationship with the president is very strong. It's solid. I don't need or want a job. I don't need or want a favor. All I want to do is see this president be successful. So when I have the privilege of talking to the president, I am intellectually honest with him. I tell him what I think the truth is, not necessarily what he wants to hear.
Yeah.
And that's a very difficult thing because I've been on the other side of this. I've been there when staff are trying to get to Donald Trump and telling him things that may be contrary to what the plan is that I have in place.
I do want to ask
that.
I want to ask you, because what you're saying is something very similar to what Omarosa said. And she's been certainly trashed, and maybe it is justified. I couldn't understand why she was on staff in the first place, but who am I? But she said that the president would ask her to check on something. She would go directly to the president, and that's not what they wanted. People like John Kelly didn't want that, and that's why she was removed. Do you agree with her, or was she a problem in the administration?
Well, look, I think prior to John Kelly's tenure at the White House, the White House was a fairly chaotic place. Too many people had access to the president. It was a wide-open door, and there was just no control of what the information was. So John came in to control the information, but the way that Donald Trump operates is he tasks people that he sees with specific assignments, regardless of what your position or title is. He just surrounds himself with people and says, hey, go do this for me, go check on that for me, and report back to me. And that is a disruptive way of operating a White House. And so when he does that, the people who are supposed to be overseeing the protocols don't actually enjoy it.
Now, Corey, you had mentioned earlier a couple of names that I had kind of, I had to kind of turn my head a little bit when you mentioned them, of people that maybe don't actually support the president. People like Sean Spicer, or at the time Rex Tillerson, who was, I think, Trump handpicked for that position. So, I mean, I guess, we've spoken with Sean Spicer, and he seems still supportive of the president now. What do you mean when you talk about people like Sean and Rex Tillerson?
Well, look, these are individuals who, and in Sean's case specifically, when he was the chief strategist to the Republican National Committee, he called a meeting 2 days before the election in November of 2016 with all the highest members of the press, told them that the RNC had done everything they could to help the down ballot races, the Senate races, the gubernatorial races, the congressional races, and that Donald Trump was going to lose in a landslide. And that, look, on two separate occasions, Sean Spicer, which he will not admit to, was offered a full-time job on the Trump campaign, but didn't think that Trump was going to win, and didn't want to be part of the campaign because he thought he was a loser. And after the Billy Bush tape came out, Sean Spicer gave the green light for the RNC members to pack up and go home and call the race over. So that's not exactly somebody who was on the president's team fighting for him to the end. And then Sean found a way to weasel his way into the administration to pretend that he was a Trump guy. And now he's going around pretending he's a Trump guy when really he's just an opportunist.
I want your take on the announcement yesterday with the Mueller investigation and Michael Flynn. Significant cooperation. What's your take?
I know Mike Flynn very well. I think he's a good man who served his country with distinction as the director of the intelligence agency, the DIA. Look, everybody should be telling the truth to these investigators, because what they will show, which I already know, is that there was no collusion or cooperation. We talk about this in our book, Trump's Enemies, but what you also have to understand is nobody is above the law. And the individuals who went after Mike Flynn, specifically Peter Strzok, who is the FBI person in charge of the Clinton email investigation, has now gone back and said that he does not believe that Mike Flynn lied and showed no indication of lying when he spoke to the FBI. So why Mike Flynn pled guilty to lying to the FBI is beyond me. Mike Flynn is a good man, and I don't think he deserves to be in jail.
The book, we're talking to Corey Lewandowski. He was you were the camp. You were. How do you not just come out and say, listen, the president is why he was elected, this president's style. But let me tell you, the brilliance and the dedication and the ideas behind the president as his campaign manager was me. I was the guy.
Well, because I'm a zero as it relates to who won the election. Look, my staff and I accounted for 0.01% of the success of the campaign, and Donald Trump was 99.9%. We tried our best to give him the tools necessary to be successful. I laid out a strategy in the primaries and caucuses that allowed him to win 38 times and get more votes than any candidate in the history of the Republican Party.
Yeah.
But my name never appeared on the ballot. It was Donald Trump. It was his messaging, and it was maybe my logistics and a great dedicated small group of dedicated team members who helped him get there.
In the book, do you reveal that it was Kellyanne Conway, or who's the leaker?
Who's the leaker?
Who wrote the op-ed in the New York Times? What is your thought?
It's a great question. It's one that has troubled me for a long time, because this is obviously a person who thinks that it's their job to keep the president from the American people. And if this person is so disgruntled with the way that Donald Trump is governing, they should come forward, have their day in front of the cameras, and air their grievances so we can respond to them. But the cowardlessly, gutless way to write an op-ed to the New York Times and make all these accusations, I think, is really unfair to everybody else who serves inside that administration.
Well, it was really, it implied that, and this is so un-American and so unconstitutional, it implied that there is a secondary government being run despite the president, and oh, by the way, our allies around the world be set at ease because Trump's really not in control. We're running this government. How unconstitutional and un-American is that concept?
Well, it's completely unpatriotic. It's the antithesis of everything that we believe in. We understand that 60 million plus people voted for Donald Trump, and you can disagree with his policies, but no one is disagreeing that he's the duly elected president of the United States. Well, except maybe Crooked Hillary. She might be the only one that hasn't agreed to that yet. But what it really comes down to is these are bureaucrats. These are individuals who serve regardless of who the president is. But in this administration, we have seen the leaks coming out of National Security Council meetings and private phone calls between world leaders that we've never seen. And that should be a scary thing, not just for this president, but for our country, that our deepest and darkest secrets that are being told between world leaders and the most private conversations that are very important to have are being relayed in the media. That should never be accepted, whether you're Republican, Democrat, conservative, or liberal. We have to make sure we're protecting the sanctity of our international intelligence community.
Obviously, I'm somebody that supports the media, and I get it. It is true. There are certain outlets that just constantly go after this president day in and day out, and I get that. But you can't blame the media when people who are close to the president are leaking this information. It's hard to blame the media. It's the leakers.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
No, I agree with you 100%. Look, I don't blame the media. I blame the dishonest people who look. The media doesn't have the privilege of listening to a private conversation between the president and another world leader. Those are classified calls. They're done on secure telephone lines.
Yeah.
I'm not blaming the media. I'm blaming the people who are listening on those calls and then sharing that information with the media at the detriment of this president and our country. I don't blame the media for reporting that, not at all.
Yeah.
What I do blame are the people who leak that information because it is a disservice to everybody involved and should really be very scary to the people who are having those conversations. And we saw this just a couple weeks ago when the president went to France for the 100-year anniversary of the end of World War I. He had a conversation on Air Force One with Theresa May.
Mm-hmm.
I can't imagine there were too many people who were listening to that phone call, but the contents of that call were leaked. The media reported it, and it is illegal to leak those conversations. How have we not found these people? How many people could potentially have been listening to a secure phone call on Air Force One between two world leaders? There just can't be that many.
Many people say he's the guy. Trump's the guy.
Oh, well, there's no doubt. You listen, brilliant PR mind, Corey. I would not put it past this president leaking some of his own stuff so he could blame it on somebody. One last question from Andrew.
Real quick, we've had a lot of reports with the stuff with Melania and other staffers. Do you feel that Trump has more friends or enemies in his administration right now?
If you look directly inside the White House and the executive office building, I'd say he's got a 75-25 friend to enemy ratio, but it should be 100 to 0 is what it should be, because every president has the right to have their team around them.
Yeah.
And once the decision is made, whatever it is, regardless of it is, everybody on the team should move in the same direction. You can disagree about how to get there, but once the decision is made, it's incumbent on the staff to follow through collectively, together, and in a unified fashion. And this administration has not done that because there's too many rivals who have their own agenda inside the building.
One final note. I am extremely pleased that the president has chosen, and this is unlike this president. There's very few things that will stop him from speaking his mind. But the death of George H.W. Bush, the president has been nothing but, and this administration has been nothing but respectful. And that is a very American concept. I don't know what I was trying to say, but you know what I'm saying.
And to your listeners, I had the privilege of meeting President H.W. Bush on numerous occasions. He is a man of the utmost integrity. He put his country before himself. What he was able to achieve in his 94 years may never be replicated. He's just been such an American icon for so long. What he and his family have dedicated, it is a true honor to be able to celebrate his life today.
I want to say Saranac. If you're ever in the upstate New York area, look for Saranac beer. It's good, Corey. You would like it. There's always a good conversation that happens when two people are sharing a beer and a Saranac. And a book, by the way. The book is Trump's Enemies, How the Deep State is Undermining the Presidency. Corey Lewandowski, thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Saranac. Remember that, okay? He won't remember. That's how I feel. The entire list of sexy songs weren't all that sexy. I don't know why they... How do you do sexy Christmas songs without including Santa Baby? Yeah, wasn't on the list. Crazy.
Which I wasn't going to say anything, but that's what we're singing.
It is. So you know. Oh, you're going to kill that.
Oh, really?
Yeah. You have the perfect voice for that. You really do.
Yeah.
I'm excited, and that'll be Christmas Eve from 6 a.m. till 12 noon. All right. Let's talk about why we're here, and that is Operation Sunshine, the toy drive, and Marine Corps League. I know they had an awful time early on finding a warehouse.
Yep. So now they have a space. Yeah. Boilermakers hooking them up, which is awesome.
Awesome.
I was actually at New York Sash checking out all the toys from the teddy bear toss, which, oh my God, I don't know if you guys have been there.
Yeah.
It is insane. So. Yeah. You know, on aside from the toy drive, we also do monetized donations, and I think sometimes people forget that. So anything we don't do for toys, maybe it's like food, clothing, you know, winter coats and gloves. Yeah. We have a separate where you can donate online, and we're trying to raise $65,000 this year. So we're at, I think.
And that would go towards other things, not toys.
It could go towards toys. So we work with partnering agencies in the area that work with Toys for Tots to get, you know, the toys for different age groups and any other supplement stuff like food and clothing. Yeah. We would use that money to supplement that.
Okay. So when you donate your money, you don't necessarily say this goes towards toys, or it's just used the way it needs to be used.
Yeah, it's based on
Operation
needs. So
Sunshine.
we get in touch with all the agencies, and they say, we're good with toys, we need mittens.
And that happens every year.
Yes, every year. So we have a $65,000 goal every year, and we've hit it every year. We're at I think we're $21,179 right now.
Okay.
I'd love to hit that $65,000 by Christmas. And we actually updated our website, so it's a little easier to donate this year. You can go to opsun.org, and there's a big, giant yellow button that you can donate through PayPal. And for those who are a little skittish about donating online, you can still call in. There are some people who don't like to do the credit cards online. So.
Actually, it's probably safer to do it online than giving your credit card information to a human being.
But if you do want to, you can call. It's 315-792-5003, and it's Michelle.
Okay.
But we've kind of made it really easy this year to donate online. We've updated our website. There's a bunch of new information on there. We have toy drop locations on there as well. Because that's wrapping up next week. But we'll still take stuff. We're never going to turn away any item for anybody. So
I want to give Operation Sunshine and you and everybody who works on it a lot of credit. You guys absorb any administrative costs. This is one of the few charities where if you make a monetary donation, 100%, not 98, not 92, not 99, 100%. goes to the cause, and obviously that's providing for families here. So
that's
awesome.
right. And we really pride ourselves on that. I mean, from my day-to-day task at the OD, this is completely volunteer, and I mean, I know you guys can attest to this. The community is awesome. Every year we have, repeat donors, we have new donors, and they just understand, people are in need during this season, and we've all been there. So it's a great thing to feel like to give back, and also know that kids on Christmas Day will be able to open presents. I mean, we take that for granted.
Yeah. I always say every year too that I feel for the kids. But I also feel for the parents who end up feeling ashamed because everyone around them is giving, the world to their kids, and then there they stand and they're like, well, here we're going with another weekend. We can't go shopping for the kids, and I think that's really tough on parents.
Well, we get the stories in, people are kind of, it's a prideful thing, but you get the stories of, I lost my house in a fire, or my husband was laid off and I have 5 kids to, support, or my husband's deceased. There's a lot of things that go into it during the holiday season, and with just regular bills and, trying to raise a family, it's tough sometimes. So,
and a few people I'd like to mention too, of course, Utica Mac is always in there. Al Pulaski and his wife, always big, and they really go out with Spectrum, and they go out and drop boxes off at places. The addition of the Marine Corps League has been incredible.
Awesome. They are like machines.
They know exactly what they're doing. And here's something that I want to make clear for those that you might have heard, well, you give to the Marine Corps League and you're not giving, those toys don't go local. They aren't distributed locally. That is absolutely not true.
Yeah.
And, I mean, literally, we worked like crazy to find them a new facility, and luckily, thankfully, the Boilermaker stepped up and gave us a warehouse to use. So.
We were housing toys at the OD for a little while, but there's a couple nooks and crannies at the building, but I'm really glad that they have a place now.
Well, pretty awesome. So, okay, again, the place to go if you want to donate money. It's really easiest way to do it.
Opsun.org, and click the giant yellow donate button on the top right corner.
Okay, very nice. You want to give one little line of Santa Baby? You want to wait until Christmas Eve?
I can't do that.
Okay, all right.
I can't do that.
Right. In the beginning, you will love her
Santa.
voice. That was good. It sounds so much better than that. So, all right, nice job. Thank you, Katie. Halbika, on the deal between the city and the city school district and the county in regards to safety, and those are special SPOs, right? Special police officers. Patrol officers who are retired police officers. Yes. These people are trained, and they're there for one reason, and they're there for the safety of the students, which is really a big deal. Halbika, coming up, and his $500 question of the day is coming up as well. 724 WIBX. Halbika standing by. Joseph, today's a big day. $500 free money. Free money question, Joe. I'd like it to go today.
Try not to violate the rules, Joe. That's all I'm asking you.
Yeah, all right.
He's big on procedure.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
Very big on procedure. You know that.
All right, Joe. So this was a big deal that was put together between the board. Joe, of course, is now on the Utica School Board. Put together between the board and the county, and this is all about safety.
Yes, it's been recommended that we have armed police officers of some sort in the schools. So it was a tough decision to make because on the one side, there are some people that would be critical or concerned about introducing weapons into the elementary school, even though they're obviously
trained police officers. Yeah,
police officers. So that's one thing, but. And then, there was going to be an issue with cost and the additions to the already stretched budget of the district. So, we spent some time thinking about it. We have a plan now in place. The active shooter plans, and we're doing all these different things to try to increase the safety, even though our schools are pretty darn safe right now.
Yeah.
But we just want to make sure that we can be as safe as we can be. So we ended up having some discussions with Utica Police. And the issue that we had, could have resulted in a financial issue, but it really was an issue of how much manpower did the city have to be able to meet the needs of the district. And as it turned out, with the compliment that the police department had for the city, they really were not able to meet the demand in terms of man hours.
Okay.
The county sheriff's department came in and made a presentation to us, and it was something that we really couldn't refuse. And we were glad that we had the opportunity to, put something in place that was fiscally palatable and also met the needs of the district in terms of safety. So, I think it was a win for the community.
And these are retired police officers, and
some are retired police officers under the special police or special patrol officers, school, as it relates to the school, they can be peace officers.
Okay.
So, they can be deputies, they can be prison guards.
But these are people, Joe, that are trained to use a firearm and trained in a.
They're going to be trained. We've ensured through the sheriff's department that there'd be continual training, supervision, and oversight.
Right.
By not only, we won't be doing any training, but we will be doing oversight as well as the sheriff's department. So,
and the other thing I found interesting here is they're paid. It's a part-time wage. There are no benefits that come in.
Yeah, that really made things significantly more manageable from a financial standpoint.
Right.
It's a tough decision. It's a tough issue to address.
Well, it's something we shouldn't have to do.
We didn't want to have to give up teachers. Yeah. We didn't want to have to give up teachers in order to do this and meet our needs. So, I think it's important. I think we're stepping up and putting policies and procedures in place. One of my favorite things, obviously, to give our kids as much protection and our parents as much peace of mind as we can. Hope to accomplish.
All right, fair enough. All right, Joseph, thanks. I got to go. I got to give your money away.
All right, good luck.
Thank you, Joe. I appreciate it.
Yep.
And I think that's a good deal put together by the city district and the county, and the fact that the county, Pacenti and Sheriff Maciel were able to come up with enough money to be able to pay for half of it for each of these school districts is a big deal. God forbid it's ever needed. But it's nice to know there's somebody there, not only trained to use a firearm. That's one thing, But these guys are trained in an active, they'll be trained, and women will be trained in an active shooter situation. So they know what they're doing, and I think that makes parents feel that much more safe. 733, our free money question is worth $500 from the Hobico Law Firm. We're going to do that coming up, along with an update from Andrew and the news. After that, the trial of the kid that made those threats at Utica College and caused havoc. Could have caused a loss of life. It could have ended up in a loss of life. Thankfully, it didn't. He, of course, was just found guilty in an Oneida County court, and we'll speak with the DA and assistant DA, the head prosecutor in the case, coming up right after the free money question at WIBX. $100 every day except for Thursdays when it's $500. And Susan is in Sherrill on the line right now. Good morning, Susan.
Good morning.
Are you ready to go?
Okay.
All right. I hope you do this. Nothing more than do I enjoy seeing the look on Hobica's face when we give away money on Thursdays. Thursdays. Okay, here we go. Okay. Here's your question. You'll have 7 seconds to get an answer in. Even if you don't know it, get something in. How old was Brenda Lee when she made her singing network television debut? Ready? Go.
13.
Gonna go with 13. Is that your final answer?
Yeah.
Okay.
Shoot.
She was 10. 13. You were listening, though, darn it. You were on.
I was listening.
Because she was 13 years old when she recorded Rockin' Around the Christmas Tree. Her network television debut came on ABC television in 1955. She was 10 years old.
Thanks for the shot.
Well, listen, I'm going to give you a $25 gift card to the 72 Tavern and Grill,
awesome,
which is at the Adirondack Bank Center. And also, would you be able to use the Utica City FC tickets? That's
what tickets?
Arena Soccer, Utica City FC.
No, give those
to somebody else.
To another listener.
The 72 Tavern and Grill card is yours, though, all right?
Okay.
Oh,
all
you
right,
were
thanks, Bill.
so close. I know.
You're a Grinch, Bill.
I am.
Okay.
I totally set you up. I feel like it's such a heel. It's terrible.
I know.
All right.
I thought I didn't listen to the 10. Didn't listen to that.
All right. Sit tight. Davey's going to take care of you, though. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
All right, Sue.
By the way, the game Sunday is against the Florida Tropics.
Okay. Davey, let's take the next two callers. Each will get a pair of tickets for Utica City FC Arena Soccer League at the Adirondack Bank Center, Sunday at 2 p.m. Tickets are still available at uticacityfc.com. Take two callers. First two, 315-736-0186. In studio right now is Scott McNamara, District Attorney, and Assistant ADA, Grant Garamone. Gentlemen, good morning.
Good morning, Bill.
Would you like to take a shot at Hobica's money this morning?
He's got a lot of it.
Hey, now.
All right. So, first of all, I just want to start with Grant. You were not buying the Adderall story.
No.
At all. Explain why, and who is this guy, Jay? Is it Jay that's the drug dealer?
Yes. I obviously, when somebody's coming forward with a defense, he had a very good defense attorney. John Responti is a very good lawyer and provided him with an exceptional amount of service in this case. But you have to look at what the objective facts are. We don't discount a defense just because we want to discount it. We listen to everybody's perceptions of what happened, and we try to prove whether that's a viable defense or not, because if somebody really is suffering from an illness, that's important to know.
Yeah.
But in this case, his statement that he was suffering from an Adderall-induced psychosis was fueled exclusively by his own self-serving diagnosis of that. So he hired a psychologist who examined him, and all the information that she reviewed was from him.
Right.
We hired a psychiatrist to conduct an evaluation of his psychologist's evaluation and of him. This person met with him at the Oneida County Jail and talked to him for quite a bit of time, did some testing, and examined, looked at his physical characteristics, and nothing matched up. And so,
and there's no evidence to support that he was purchasing the Adderall.
It's his physical appearance, according to the doctor, is totally inconsistent with somebody abusing that type of drug. I've spoken to people that use Adderall who have come to me and said that what he's saying is just not accurate.
Do you go into such a psychosis? Because Adderall makes you extremely focused.
Yeah. Well, one thing Grant didn't say, though, I think is important. The defendant had a prescription for this and never filled it.
That's correct.
So it doesn't even make sense what he's saying. He could get it at a very cheap rate, but he wants everyone to believe that he's buying it off the street at street market. And
that's
also
a big that's a big faux pas, right?
Yeah,
there.
and the other thing too is, and it's one of those things where we do this all the time, so we kind of look to we're used to people lying to us. Let's put it that way. And I thought it was quite interesting that the way he communicated with his Adderall dealer was through Snapchat, because we had his phone. And so we know there's no text messages in buying it. We know we don't have any track of it. So what does he do? He picks an app where everything disappears after you do it. So that was pretty interesting. But Grant did call a witness, and actually we've used this Dr. Bardet quite a few times recently. He's a psychiatrist. He's a forensic psychiatrist out in New York City, and he basically did a great job testifying, but one thing that he did that the defendant's attorney didn't do, and I thought, or defendant's psychologist didn't do, was he interviewed the family. And if you think about that, I mean, some of these things just make sense to a layperson. Yeah. Who's the people that know when somebody's got a drug problem? The family, because they're either being ripped off or they're dealing with their craziness. And the family was like, no, you don't have a problem with it.
And I want to go back to the Adderall itself. It's not one of the drugs we hear about that it's probably abused, but it's not like heroin where you've got to have it, and none of this stuff really sounds consistent with Adderall.
Right. His symptoms that he was describing, according to Dr. Bardet, were exaggerated, and his amnesia that he was displaying during the course of his testimony and at points in time when he's being interviewed by the psychologist that he hired and our psychologist are not consistent with the type of drug abuse he's describing. Our doctor indicated that the level of amnesia he was indicating would be consistent with somebody who sustained a significant head trauma, and he did not. He did not have that.
I also found that if I were a juror on that, I would have put 1 and 2 and 3 together, because it seems like it's easy to tell the truth because you never ever you just tell the truth. Right. But when you're lying, you forget. So there were times that he remembered things from back then, it seemed in the testimony. Is that correct? Yeah. And then all of a sudden he didn't remember the big part about making the phone calls.
He had amnesia from the time after March 2nd until when his parents came to visit him after he got arrested. That whole gap of time is lost in his memory, according to what he's saying. But when you look at and we called a lot of witnesses, and we called people that had direct contact with him on the days of these calls at Utica College, people he was making his schedule with, people he's doing financial aid services with. They were communicating with him at a high level. Talking about FAFSA forms and things of that nature is not something that, it says a lot of stuff that you got to talk about. He was functioning at a high level, and we also called students that know him, that had contact with him, that said he was acting normally. And we also had 2 of our witnesses were narcotics officers, and both of them have dealt with people high on stimulants, and none of his activities were consistent.
He said 10 to 15.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So none of his activities were consistent with what they've seen in people that use drugs.
You had the videotape of his confession, which was hours long. And we actually had Dr. Bardet looked at it.
He watched it all.
And he watched all of that. Now, the defendant's psychologist didn't do that. But one of the things that Dr. Bardet said, and I thought it was very telling, when somebody is that hyped up on, and Adderall is a stimulant. It's like methamphetamine.
He said 10 to 15 pills.
Yeah, he would be.
By the way, how does he remember that he took 10 to 15 if he can't remember?
He'd be bouncing off the walls with that
so.
much.
Yeah.
And he wasn't. Like when he was interviewed by the police, I mean, one of the things Grant showed at the trial was the first thing he did was walk in. He looked up and looked at the camera. He knew he was on camera. Yeah. And at no point, and was in the room at different times by himself. Right. And if you ever know anybody that has ADHD or things like that, and like the doctor said, you would expect him to be fidgeting. You expect him to be getting up and walking
just
around in the room.
Just look at me if you want to wonder. Just look here.
You're right. We showed the jury long stretches of, when you're showing a video for 3.5 hours, you would fast forward through the parts where nothing's happening. But we purposely showed long stretches of activity where he was just sitting in the room by himself, not doing anything, just sitting. And at one time he's playing with the desk drawer. He's not acting in a manner consistent with someone with hyperactivity disorder. And Dr. Bardet watched all that and made a point to mention that to the jury. Look he's sitting there very calmly. Also, when he was in the Strebel Center during the lockdown at 3:29 in the afternoon, he had been there since about 2:45. A staff member locked eyes with him, and he was sitting quietly by the wall with his iPad and his cell phone in his hand, and something about him attracted her attention because there were some U.S. Marshals standing in his vicinity looking at their phones, and he became very focused on what they were talking about. And she saw that. Out of all the people over there, she locked eyes on him and took his photograph before he was ever arrested or charged with anything. Before he was even...
She was suspicious.
Yes. And she picked right up on it, and she took a photograph that we showed the jurors. And that showed what he really looked like. Very calm. He didn't look agitated.
Well, I want to parlay off that a little bit. I spoke with someone who said that they were, I can't remember if she said she was in the room or if she was very close to someone in the room. And there was a pregnant woman in one of the rooms. I'm wondering if any of this testimony came out. And that he was actually rubbing her shoulder saying, you're going to be okay. This is playing along. This woman could have lost that baby. Did that come out in testimony?
There was testimony. He was at 11:10 a.m. He signed into this room, Whitehall 122, to see an advisor, and he signed in the sign-in sheet. So his name's on the sign-in sheet, and it was right after he called the first two calls in, within 10 minutes or so, and he is with them, and he's locked in with them from about 11:08 in the morning to 2:45. And he is calm. He chooses to sit by himself. He has his phone that he's FaceTiming his family with. And at times he's walking up to the people in the room, updating them on the news. Hey, this is,
That's what I heard. Yeah.
He was very calm, and he was taking various photographs of people in the room. He was taking surreptitious photographs of his location in the room. He was taking pictures of the chairs that were blocking the doors. And he was taking pictures of some of the women in the room that were locked in there with him. He took some covert photos of them.
Who had to go to the bathroom, I believe, in trash cans.
They turned one of the ladies' offices into the toilet, and they had to pee in the garbage cans.
When I was on when this initially happened, I know you were kind of pushing me on why were we asking so much time. I was kind of in a situation where, we can't talk about the facts before they come out. So I really was handcuffed a little bit to talk to you about why I felt so strongly that a significant punishment was warranted in this case. And now that the case is over, we can talk about that. What really I found problematic from his behavior was if it was one day and one day only, I would look at this a lot different. But he took a ringside seat to a terrorist threat. He got to see how he amped up the students, how he got to see what he did to them. He got to see how he terrorized the administration of that college, including, there were people that would criticize the president for the way she acted and handled it. Yeah. And I don't necessarily think it put her job in jeopardy, but, she's all of a sudden she's under attack. She didn't do anything wrong. Yeah. And he also terrorized the police. And what I found really problematic of his behavior and why I felt that such a strong punishment was warranted for two reasons. Number one, to send a loud and clear message that we're not going to tolerate this nonsense. And two, on day two, he was intentionally terrorizing the police and he was taunting them. So like one of the calls, he initially starts off pretending he's a hostage. Then he says, I'm the one that has... I forget what the person's name he was. Kyle. And then he says, when I kill Kyle, then I'm going to start killing the other people. And the thing that I couldn't talk about that was very telling, when he didn't get a rise out of the school the second day, they didn't shut the school down, he looks up on his phone the non-emergency number for Utica police and calls that. And to me, that showed the level of what he was trying to do. So when he sits there and he looks all innocent and everything, it's like Ted Bundy didn't look that dangerous neither. But here's somebody that was doing a lot of dangerous things. And the other thing that concerned us, and you know why? I don't know what Judge Dwyer's going to give him for a sentence. I hope he gives him a substantial sentence that we had talked about initially. He was looking up guns on his phone. I mean, we don't know what he planned.
Right,
we don't know
right.
if this was a dry run to see. We don't know why he was taking the counter surveillance photographs. We don't know all that. We can't talk about that at the trial. But, what would you guys be saying to myself or Grant if we gave him, 2 years or we gave him probation and then he gets done and he goes over and shoots somebody?
So he did this alone. That's the belief.
Yes.
Right.
Why did he do it? What was it? What was the gain? Like you hear things about someone writes a bomb threat on a bathroom stall because they want to get out of a test or something.
In my opinion, in my opinion, he did this because he had worked very, very hard, like most students do, and he did not get into a program that he wanted to get into. He wanted to get into the physical therapy program at Utica College, and he didn't get into it. And if you notice, who does he terrorize? The people that are in that program. So I mean, that was always what we believed he was up to. A prank is one thing, but we were trying to dig down and figure it out, and Grant really stumbled onto that as he continued to interview people that were there, and they would tell him, hey, he didn't get into the program with us. And then all of a sudden it kind of became clear, why would you do this? Because you can terrorize the people that took your spot, and you can terrorize the people that didn't let you in. And if you think about when you work really hard for anything, there is a certain amount of disappointment. Fortunately, most of us don't terrorize, the people. But I just want to say one thing before we go.
By the way, he's about to get into a new program.
Yes, he is. I just want to say one thing, though, and I think the public should know this. Grant's office is right next to my office in the DA's office, and they should be very proud, the taxpayers, of what he did, because he worked on this case nonstop for the entire summer. I heard the recording so many times coming through the wall. And there's also another person that isn't here that should get an honorable mention, and that's Steve Feiner. Steve Feiner was the one that did all the testimony with the psychiatrist, our forensic psychiatrist. He actually found him on a different case, and Steve did an incredible job, and he worked very good with Grant. And I just think it's very important for the listeners and the taxpayers to know that what they get. I mean, I know Steve and Grant were working the night before the closing. They were working at 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning. That's how it goes when you're on trial. So, And
do you think do you feel that the fact that obviously, and you said this morning, that he didn't take the plea deal, that never, when a judge has to look to think about sentencing, but beyond that, he didn't get on the stand and he didn't show remorse. He in everyone's belief, including the jury, he lied. That will affect, I can't imagine it wouldn't affect the judge's decision, right?
I think it'll affect the judge's decision. I was listening to you early this morning. I would have to admit, I'll be the most surprised that Judge Dwyer maxes him out, because that's just not Judge Dwyer. I've dealt with Judge Dwyer for so many years. That's not his style. I would guess that he would probably sentence him around what we had offered. That's my guess at this point. I've never talked to the judge about it.
But the idea of the Adderall is to get him alleviate the sentence. It might very well have the
Judge Dwyer
opposite.
does consider those things, so he definitely does. And he minimizes sentences sometimes when people are contrite and they apologize.
Feel remorseful. He did not exhibit any remorse. But going back to the Adderall issue, one of the things that we did, and we don't take people's statements lightly. We investigate everything. And Steve Feiner, who not only did the doctors, but he did all the technical investigative work with Sergeant Martino from Utica College, went back, and once we were told about this defense, went back and researched every single text message that this defendant sent or talked about the issue of sleep, because he was claiming he was very sleep deprived, and he found numerous text messages from the defendant to people saying how he slept like a baby last night and how he had such a good night's sleep. So, we tried to head off this defense every avenue we could. And the fictitious J that he created, I mean, I've been a narcotics prosecutor for 22 years. Scott was a narcotics prosecutor before me, and it's very convenient to invent some shadow figure that you can't tell me his last name. Yeah. And he knew at the point in time where he testified that he went through his phone, and he knew we would do a search of that person's name. And not every drug person that I've ever dealt with, users always have the drug dealer's contact information in their contacts. I've never seen a drug user with Snapchat, where they're contacting them through Snapchat.
Yeah.
That was a convenience. And
I have to say that in this town, you start talking about a guy named Jay who's serving up Adderall.
Yeah.
Someone's going to be like, okay, I know this guy.
Well, it could be.
Right? I mean, we're not that large of a town. So,
and also, he never brought Jay up until the trial. He had.
That's the other thing. Where's Jay before?
When he was interviewed by the police, both investigators, especially Investigator Kopech, who is a narcotics, he was a narcotics officer for many years with the Drug Task Force. He asked him, "Are you using drugs?" And he said, "No, I don't use any drugs." And Sergeant Sabanovich, who ultimately got the confession from him, also asked him, "Were you high on drugs?" And he says, "No, I don't use any drugs."
Yeah.
So, and he went to the jail and got booked to the jail. Do you use any, standard question, do you use any drugs? No. He never mentioned anything about drug use until it came to be critical in his defense.
Yeah.
So.
Did Jay call in yet?
I haven't heard of him. You know I was asking for him. I haven't got him yet. Scott McNamara and Greg Garamone, gentlemen, thank you so much. Nice job.
Thank you.
Really nice job.
Thank you both.
Got a break. Hold on tight. We're coming right back at WIBX. All right, I've got a few people. That was unfair what you did to Sue on the free money question. Not really. It wasn't unfair.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you're giving away $500.
It's a big one.
I know.
And you're
of
so
all
here's
people,
the,
don't bring this case to me because I'm not siding with.
So here's what happened. The question was, but Sue's not saying this, but other people have called in and say that was unfair. Oh, no, it was. It's $500.
Yeah.
So the question was, earlier in the hour we talked about Brenda Lee, her song "Rockin' Around the Christmas Tree." She recorded that song. This is shocking to me. Because when you listen to this, just listen to her voice here. She was 13 years old when she recorded that song.
Every time Jeff sings, a car crashes.
So the question, however, was, and Sue kind of felt it was a bit of a trick question. Because shortly after that, we asked the question, how old was she when she made her network debut? And she was 10 years old when she made her network television debut on a music show on ABC TV in 1955.
And Sue remembered what we had said about that and immediately said, "Oh, I
she
remember
immediately
it was
had
13."
Immediately had it, but that's part of the trickery of that. It gets a little. I think it gets a little tougher when it's a $500 question.
Yes,
they're always tough
on.
questions. It's $500. As much as I want to see Hobica's money go, it's $500. It's an awesome show, and we hope you're able to listen in on Christmas Eve morning from 6 a.m. until 12 noon, and it's hundreds of people will make their way through. You can listen live on radio, TV, web, and even on the WIBX 950 app, Fox TV 33, and it is catered. There'll be a ton of food here from Charlie's Pizza in Washington Mills in North Utica. They have their special for your holiday party. Buy one full tray and get a second full tray of equal or lesser value at half price. It's an awesome deal if you're having a holiday get-together. That's Charlie's. So you got to pick up out of their Washington Mills. They have a 3,000-square-foot catering facility in Washington Mills. So it's Charlie's Pizza, North Utica and Washington Mills. On the free money question from Hobica, worth $500. Now I'm being called out on it again by whom?
City Comptroller Bill Morehouse.
What is he getting involved for?
He says, "Look, Jeff, it was wrong. Bill often says, if you would have been listening, you might have got that question. I said 13 before Sue even did. It's the holidays. It's just not right."
Oh, my goodness.
So what I'd like to do, because it's the holidays, is I would like to give Sue $500. And
wow,
$500 to a charity of her choice.
That is awesome.
Hey,
that is
like
great.
Bill, do you know how many times I've gotten these questions wrong? I mean, come on.
Bill, do you realize, though, how many tchotchkes you could buy with that $500? I'm just saying.
So how about that? Sue, can you call
That's
back
pretty
in?
awesome.
Sue, I hope you can call back, Sue. We'll find her.
You have her
We'll
number,
get her.
right, Sue? Or
You do have her number, right? Because you gave her a gift card. So
Yeah.
I try to reach her, and let's get her on the line, okay?
Sue, call
Bill
Smitty.
Morehouse, that is very nice of you. And to the charity of her choice as well.
Yes.
Very, very nice. I'm pleased with that.
Very generous.
And I had a feeling. You said something. I had a feeling that's what he was going to do. I said, I'm. That's really cool.
You know, I will say
It's the holiday season.
Ironically, his text started the way most of Jim Zecca's texts start when he emails.
Bill
into the
is
show.
wrong. It
Bill
usually
is
starts
wrong,
that way,
Jeff.
so.
Bill is wrong.
those 3 words. She is now the 119th Assembly District Assemblywoman. How do we say that? Assemblyperson? Assemblywoman.
Yeah. Assemblywoman-elect.
Assemblyperson-elect, yeah, I guess.
Assemblywoman-elect.
At this point. Currently, the seat is held by Congressman-elect Anthony Brindisi. And Marianne Bottenshawn, good morning.
Good morning, everyone.
So congratulations.
Thank you.
And you are now, boy, the dynamics have completely changed because the Democrats have control of not only the Assembly but the Senate. You are our only hope.
What?
You're the one that's going to have to
help us, Assemblywoman-elect Bottenshawn.
Like Brindisi would do, work along with Joe Griffo and all of that. Tell us what your plans are, and working across the aisle is going to have to be important for up here.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I consider the most important aspect is I work for the constituents, and not just within the 119th, but to work collaboratively with individuals around us. I find the most important aspect is listening and hearing what the needs are so that we do get those resources that we need. Next week, I have orientation, so I'll be down in Albany next week, meeting individuals. I have been meeting with local officials to determine what those needs are. I'm asking for various agencies to provide me with a one-page, so it's just a small what the mission statement is, priorities, so that when I do have the opportunity to meet with others, to have them see how wonderful this community is, what we have to offer, and inviting everyone to come and visit.
You're certainly not the first woman to hold this seat. Roanne DeStito had it prior to Anthony Brindisi, and she's in a very big position of power. A lot of money has come into this area, and it's been. It seems like the legislators of both Senate and the Assembly have worked together for the region. So there's a lot riding right now in keeping this money flowing, and some of the money that's been promised, like the hospital money, and there's nano money out there. That's all going to be a part of, it's going to be on your shoulders.
Exactly. I have met with Anthony and his staff quite a few times, and clearly he has reminded me of the importance of those allocations. As you know, in the past, they started to slip away and then came back. So I have a close eye on those to determine how we can ensure that they stay in the budget as they should.
So the campaign obviously is over, and your opponent, Dennis Bova, was all in on being all out on the hospital. And it didn't seem that way in the beginning, but then he went, I don't know, he got the anti-hospital bug or something. So where is your stance on the hospital downtown?
I am a strategic planner. I think the most important aspect is this has been a plan that has been in action for about 3 years.
Right.
So
to pull the plug now would just be...
Well, and I think that we still need to ensure that all options are open. As this evening's meeting will take a look at environmental issues. Is it's constant to remain positive, but at the same token to ensure that we look at what's best for the community.
Yeah. Is it something that, as a strategic planner, do you feel it's putting it in downtown is a good place for the hospital?
Well, again, I think 3 years ago that decision was made.
Right. So it doesn't even matter at this point.
The most important aspect is, do we need to have a plan B? Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think there are different plans. I've met with various groups. Tonight there's another hearing, as I stated, and the attempt to ensure that communication is the key. Transparency is the key to make sure that whether there's a business owner there or a community member. I bring up a point as I was in Frankfurt. I met with a group of individuals, and one of the...
I think that people, I'm sorry, don't... they kind of forget that it's Rome, it's Utica, and just this little piece of Herkimer County in Frankfurt. So
Frankfurt, Whitestown, Marcy, and Floyd. So it is, yes. And Frankfurt, one of the gentlemen brought up a point that said, you have to remember that we're going to be utilizing this hospital also. And to get on Route 5 and get right off into a hospital to us is very valuable. Because he had provided an example of one of his family members became ill. The ambulance had said they were going to St. E's. So he had traveled to St. E's or St. Luke's, one of them, and his family member wasn't there. So obviously very emotional, very upset, wondering what had happened. They said no. And having two hospitals, even though they're, within a 10-mile radius, was very confusing to them. So he considered it very helpful the location.
Being from the Valley, I'm telling you, to be able to drive up 5S, because I've been in one of those ambulances. My daughter had to be taken to the hospital when she was quite young, and they had to make you make that decision. So we were going to Faxton. Then they go down and they go up Champlain Road. Cars aren't getting out of your way. It was always very difficult. Obviously, no matter where you move it, it's going to be further away, closer to some and further from others. But it seems like the easy access, you've got the highway access from all different angles coming into this location, which should be beneficial and probably ultimately save lives, I would think. So,
and I think as I was campaigning, one of the big questions was repurposing. So they had told me they put an RFP out, and they will start January, ensuring that
for the other facilities.
Yes, because I think that's some of the uncertainty that so many individuals are having. So what's going to happen with these buildings? And we want to make sure that it's something very productive that can support our community.
Yeah.
So I keep a close eye on that and keep asking how the RFPs are coming and things of that nature.
All right. Well, listen, congratulations. I know it was a tough campaign, strategic. I certainly get that. I'm glad you're on the radio, and I hope we have full access to you as time goes on, because we really love the one thing Anthony Brindisi always was for us is someone we could call, and he would be there for us. And I hope that's you as well, and I'm confident that it will be. So.
Absolutely. I look forward to working with everyone.
Awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
All right. We'll break, talk a little NFL action, the picks for this weekend and for tonight. Brandon Lang coming up at WIBX. We have a contestant that didn't win the $500, and Bill Morehouse saying, screw that, I'm giving her the $500 and $500 for the charity of her choice. How about that? So we're trying to get in touch with Sue, and as soon as we do, we'll give her the news. That's really cool, right?
That's an awesome. I kind of shocked that he did that, but thank you, Bill Morehouse. That's really cool.
Brandon Lang standing by right now.
We expect you to do it again tomorrow. So.
Brandon Lang standing by right now. Before you do any betting on the football games or basketball, whatever it is, go to BrandonLang.com. Good morning, Brandon Lang.
What's up, boys and girls?
So North Dakota apparently is this huge powerhouse.
North Dakota State
in the what is it called? The FCS, right?
FCS.
Yeah. And they're facing our Colgate University, which has legendary history, by the way. And Colgate is going in at like a 26-point underdog. Brandon, are you familiar with this? And what are your thoughts?
Well, if you watch North Dakota this year, North Dakota State, they've had 37.5, 40, 27, 33, 30, 31, and 28. The last 4 point spreads they've had, 33, 30, 31, and 28.5. The only one they didn't cover was the 33.5 against Youngstown State. They won by 10, 17-7. Youngstown State played them really well. My boy Steve Budin does a radio station in Youngstown State. So funny you asked me this. And he wanted me to write up Youngstown State 5 times this year. I wrote up the North Dakota State write-up, and I said take Youngstown State plus the 33.5. It's too many points. They match up well. Now, conversely, your little Colgate boys have covered every game this year but 2. They didn't cover their first game out of the box against Holy Cross, and then they didn't cover against Army. But within that Army game, showing you the respect they have. Remember, Army went into North Carolina. It was a tie game. Went into Oklahoma. It was a tie game.
Yeah.
With 2 minutes to go. Colgate goes in there getting 11.
Without their starting quarterback, by the way.
Yep, lost by 14. So other than that, they covered every single game. I would grab the 25 points all day long. This thing's going down the wire.
I got to tell you something. The one thing Colgate is the strongest part of Colgate's game is their defense. That defense is extremely effective. So all right. So there you go. If you're interested, who would have thought you'd be betting on Colgate, right?
Well, who would have thought that I would have knew anything about the game?
That's exactly right. I mean, that shows you a lot. Let me tell you, Colgate knocks them off. That is enormous. That would be huge for that program. But I know that's a tough task.
Absolutely.
Either way. All right, tonight, Jacksonville, Tennessee. What do you think?
You can have it.
Yeah, who cares,
for
right?
For the first time in, I'd say, 10 years, I'm going to release a basketball play instead of a Thursday night football play only because going back to last year, I'm on an 18-4 college basketball run.
Wow.
And it's just been, I had Gonzaga over Duke when they won that a couple weeks ago. This week, it's been last night Tulsa, +1.5 at home. They went outright. So I'll probably go the college hoop ranks just because I'm so hot.
Speaking of college hoops, before we get to football, Syracuse, Georgetown, there's a fear that rivalry might come to an end after the year because the ACC is expanding they're adding 2 additional conference games to the schedule next year. And the thought is that these programs are going to have to cut out a couple of games, and they might end up cutting out games like this. Could the Syracuse-Georgetown rivalry come to an end this weekend? But that game is on Saturday. What do you think?
It's sad. When Georgetown, people don't remember this. You might remember this. Georgetown went in there on a Saturday in February, probably 5 years ago, and snapped Syracuse's 40-something game home winning streak.
Yeah.
Always played them tough there. I imagine the line will probably be somewhere from 4 to 6. I'd grab the points. I like what Patrick Ewing's doing there, and he has Georgetown playing well.
Yeah. And by the way, Syracuse is playing much better after a couple of unexpected losses.
I said to you, don't
late in the season, big time late in the season.
Yeah, don't even pay attention to what goes on in December, in January, and late February. Here they come, and then they get in, and people say they don't deserve to get in, and then they're a 9 seed. And the next thing you know, you blink, they're in the Final Four. You're like, how does this? Every year, he has them ready.
Anything else?
I was just going to mention Tyus Battle, ACC Player of the Week this week, talking about Syracuse. So anyway,
that's cool.
Are you going to go ahead?
Well, let me do the honors. I don't know if you're as enthused as I am, Brandon, about the end of the reign of Mike McCarthy.
30 degrees here in Vegas. When that happened, I went outside and danced for an hour. I lit candles. I burned jerseys. So happy. It cost me more money than any NFL coach, currently, past, or present. Good riddance. Just a horrible play calling. How many 4th and 1s or 3rd and 1s he couldn't pick up? That buried me.
Or didn't go or
didn't go for it, and then go for it when you shouldn't go for it. Good. I can't wait to see where he lands because he'll coach again. They all do. They're like recyclable cans. They just recycle back through these mutts.
Well, the big question is: so is Green Bay going to go after like some out of retirement coach? Or we saw with Gruden that probably is not a great idea. But who do they go after? Somebody said, well, they're better off going with somebody in college. I don't know.
Lincoln Riley, because he's got the kind of offensive mind that Aaron would just. Got the offensive scheme that can work with Aaron. I'd offer him the house. We'll see. Listen, look what Sean McVay's doing with the Rams. 32-year-old head coach in the NFL. And look how innovative their offense is, the Rams, and what he does. And so it just makes sense. These young coaches get it now. They get it. These old, crusty, old-school guys, no. The game is changing, and you need young minds to change with it. So we'll see.
Lincoln Riley, of course, the Oklahoma Sooners football coach right now.
I have a trivia question, and then I have Kathy and Rome standing by. We'll do the Giants, too. But trivia question, if you take the last 2 weeks, who is the highest-rated quarterback in the NFL? If you take the last 2 weeks. Highest-rated quarterback in the NFL.
Eli Manning.
Josh Allen.
I love him. I told you I love him.
He does like him.
I told you I love him when you drafted him.
He might be leading most running backs around the league in rushing, too.
Yeah. Think about that.
Kid's a beast.
Yeah, he is. Brandon, I'm a Giants fan, but I watched this kid, and I'm like somewhat jealous. Like, I think you guys, Buffalo has something.
I think they finally have landed what they've been trying to do since Jim Kelly.
And I don't want to say, forgive this comparison, I shouldn't even do this, but I just watch him almost like a little Favre, where the play's never over. He's always circling around. He'll heave it downfield. He doesn't care.
He's got the attitude and grit.
He's got an attitude.
Yeah.
And he's not somebody you expect to be mobile. When you look at him, he looks more like a Drew Bledsoe or something like that. It doesn't look like, but then he's just, you can't stop him. And he can anticipate he just can feel them coming around him, and he knows how to get out of the way. I mean, it's impressive. At least
it's a shame they lost that game last week.
Yeah, that shouldn't have happened.
That throw that at the end of the game was just a foot from getting there. Probably a little gas from running around, and just didn't have enough mustard left in there.
Yeah.
Now, how anyone makes the argument though that there was a problem with the pass, all the stuff he did, like you said, to
How did
get
he not
that,
get to that ball?
How does Clay not make the catch? People were arguing. I see people arguing on TV. Well, it was a little wobbly. It wasn't on target. He ran 50 yards before he threw it.
Yeah. Well, there's that, and the fact that that's a catch receivers make in the NFL.
Yeah.
Another thing was that wasn't thrown on an absolute bullet. It was lofted, which made
you
it
had time to
easier
get
make
there.
that catch.
Yeah.
Yep.
How about Benjamin being released?
Finally.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm still pissed about the Monday night game against the Patriots that Buffalo didn't cover, courtesy of signing some mutt off his couch and starting him. But at the end of the day, he was so bad. Thank God. Thank God.
All right, I'll throw two games at you, and then we'll wrap it up. And Kathy has a quick question. Jets at Buffalo. What do you think?
I'm still trying to figure out how the Jets covered the number against the Titans last week by not scoring an offensive touchdown. Unbelievable. I think Buffalo. The Jets are so bad. Buffalo should win that game by 20.
And the Giants are on a bit of a roll here in Washington.
Don't look now. Eli's covered 5 straight on the road. So I think the right side of the game, although I'm not big for laying points on the road, it wouldn't surprise me if this game falls right on 3. Currently the Giants are minus 3.5. Not a big road favorite guy. I will tell you this, though. 4 straight games between these two have gone under the posted total. With Sanchez at quarterback, Washington's defense is playing well, especially at home. I'd play under. I would lean toward taking Washington plus 3.5.
And Kathy in Rome is standing by right now. Kathy, go ahead. You're on with Brandon Lang.
Hi, good morning. Brandon, I know that Michigan State's going to go to the Red Box Bowl. How well are they going to hold up against the Oregon Ducks?
Game scares me a little bit because of Oregon's speed. Michigan's not used to seeing that kind of speed. But they have a defense. That's their calling card. I think it's a bad matchup for Sparty. I think you should focus your attention on the Michigan State basketball team, which I got to see here in Vegas a couple of weeks ago when they beat Texas and won the little mini tournament. Don't sleep on Michigan State going to the Final Four. You should be very happy, Kathy. Tom Izzo's got a group of kids. I got to spend some time with Matty McQuade. He's got a great group of kids that love one another. There's no
Is McQuade going to be
guys
playing in the next game?
He hurt his knee. He got banged on the knee at the end of the Texas game. He should be out a week. So I texted his dad, Rob. He should be ready to go about one more game.
All right,
I
Kathy.
hope so.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy in Rome. And Brandon, as always, we appreciate it. We'll do it again next week. Have a great weekend. All right.
Thanks, guys.
BrandonLang.com is the website. Check it out before you do anything extracurricular. Hold on tight. Beer of the week also, where the wintertime schedule for the public market is on this weekend, right, Andrew?
It is on
there,
this
texty?
weekend. Yes.
Yes, okay. 8:39. This is like I'm at the dinner table with my kids, trying to talk to them.
I'm trying to focus on.
He's been
texting away.
for 3 hours.
Got a break. We'll come right back at WIBX. Sue in Oneida is standing by right now. Good morning, Sue. How are you? Can you hear me, Sue? Oh, did I lose her?
No, you didn't.
Davey, check on her on line 1 if you could. We had Sue on the air earlier this morning, and she played for the 5. Davey, pick up with her, could you please? And I didn't have anything.
Make sure she's still
Make sure
there.
she's there. Sue was on the air earlier this morning doing our free money question of the day from the Hobeika Law Firm, worth $500 in cash. She lost. It was a bit of a trick question, and she did not get it right. And good morning. I think
here.
You're back. You're not.
Yes.
You don't think it was unfair, do you?
Do I think what was unfair?
The question this morning.
No.
Okay.
I don't know.
I want to tell you, it wasn't. It was kind of a trick. It was a trick. It wasn't unfair. However, here's the interesting news. I know you're at work right now, so I'll make this fast. The interesting news is After you got off the air, someone felt bad for you and felt that I had tricked you. And I'll let Manaski finish from here.
So, City Controller Bill Morehouse texted into the show, and he was a little frustrated with Bill. He didn't think we were fair, so he said what he wants to do is he wants to give you the $500 and $500 more for a charity of your choice.
How about that?
What?
He
kidding.
is giving you the $500 anyway, and you get to pick a charity, and he'll give $500 to your charity. And I know a really good toy drive that's an awesome charity, by the way.
Winning. Wow, winning.
No way.
How about that? Isn't that cool?
I'm speechless. I don't know what to say.
Well, you say pick your charity. I'll let you think about the charity, but
So,
I would love to donate it to the toy drive.
we really appreciate that.
appreciate that.
And Operation
Absolutely.
Sunshine, the Marine Corps League, that is awesome, and we thank Bill Morehouse. And we'll have a check for you for $500.
Can I give Bill Bill Morehouse your name and number? I just want to make sure.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Okay,
All right.
and you can also always go down to City Hall and get a a chip clip or
Fly
or
swatters?
fly swatter or something and say thank you because
Shoehorn?
Bill's usually there. I
All
don't
right,
think he ever
sir.
did the shoehorns yet, but
And you know what? This is clearly out of the kindness of his heart because he's in the city of Utica where you could never vote for him. So this wasn't done for votes. He just wanted, he felt bad that you didn't win, and he wanted to give you the money anyway. So,
I just wonder if my husband's listening and hearing this right now.
well, I hope he is. Stay clear of those electric lines. They're live.
Okay.
National Grid.
Gosh.
That's where he works.
Thank you, and I will.
right.
I will reach out to Mr. Morehouse. Thank you.
All right, sit tight. Davey's going to give you the information. Hold on tight. Sue in Oneida. And one more quickly, Tom in Little Falls. Hello, Tom. Good morning.
Good morning. I was just wondering if you know the significance of the day.
Today is halfway to...
No, today is December 6th, which is the Feast of St. Nicholas, from whom we get Santa Claus.
Nice. So
he was a bishop in Asia Minor, which is now Turkey, back in the 300s. Known for his generosity, that's why they connect him with gifts.
So this is the day where he kind of gets fat and jolly and ready to go, right? So
yeah, well, he wasn't fat and jolly, but you know,
I get it.
Things got changed, but that's the reason behind the tradition of giving gifts. They kind of merged Christmas with St. Nicholas Day over the hundreds of years.
Well, in fairness, Tom, you may know that he wasn't fat, but you don't know that he wasn't jolly.
That's right.
You
No, he probably was jolly, but he wasn't.
But he wasn't
just want to
fat.
be clear.
And fat isn't a word we can use anymore, I don't think.
By the way,
pH fat.
Surprisingly, he's buried in Ireland.
Oh, yeah, I guess I kind of had heard that before.
Yes, yes.
All right, which is why you know Tom is an expert when it comes to Irish history. All right, Thomas, thank you so much. We appreciate it.
You're welcome. And I gave you the messages, there's lots going on. So if you want to contact me later, I'll be home all day.
Okay, thanks, Tom.
Right, bye-bye.
All right. In studio right now is Beth Irons and also John Nagel. Nagel is in from the Buried Acorn Brewery with our craft beer of the week. Let's start with, what do you want to say? You want to...
Breakfast of Champions going on.
Good morning.
I think you need to start because she's drinking some of your beers. So.
This is true. Yeah, I got to give her a chance to catch up.
I know you have a growler here, and that means this is something that isn't bottled here.
Correct, yeah. So this is only available right now at Buried Acorn Brewing Company on draft. And it's a takeoff of a beer that I brought on here before called Hot Whip, our IPA.
Oh, yes.
So this is a version of that we age in wine barrels for about 10 months. And we inoculate it with a different type of yeast called Brettanomyces. Instead of the Saccharomyces yeast that is used to make the original beer, this has a profoundly different effect on the beer. So it gives it a slightly sour flavor and
There's
a
little sourness in here.
Yeah, and it kind of... The cool thing about Brettanomyces is it can consume all sorts of different things in the beer besides sugars. So it actually breaks down some of the hop compounds in there and turns them into different flavors that are a little bit more like bananas and estery flavors.
Wow, it is completely shocking when you taste it.
Yeah.
I don't want to tell you when I smell it, it brings me...
Back to the farm?
It brings me to the farm.
Yeah.
It's exactly what I...
Yeah, they call it horse blanket sometimes.
It's a horse smell.
Yep.
When you walk into and honest to God, there's a horse smell to this. That is exactly what I
just lost a little of its allure.
And that's why I didn't want to say it.
No,
it's totally smell a horse barn.
So that's the effect that the yeast has on it.
Interesting.
You don't taste it. It doesn't
No,
taste
you
like
don't
a horse.
taste it.
How do you know what a horse tastes like?
That is.
Yeah.
Oh, you sucked me right in on that one.
Sorry.
Thanks for that.
But
you've been planning that all morning.
No, not yet. Just came to me.
This is so. Beth, what do you think? Beth Irons, by the
I
way.
like it. Is this? You said this is an IPA?
It is an
IPA,
Okay.
but it's a Brett IPA. So just a
I
different.
usually don't like IPAs, but this is good.
It's
nice.
a very unique taste.
Yeah, it
Very
sweetens it up a
smooth.
little bit.
Yeah. And I don't know what it is. It must be something in a horse barn that I don't know.
It's
what
kind
it
of a
is.
straw-like smell.
It is.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so glad you said that because
it's
I'm
not
so glad
insulting. It's actually it's a true characteristic of
Okay.
beers that are fermented with Brett. And Brettanomyces is on everything. Like it's the same yeast that makes hard apple cider or wine. The only reason that it's not used in beer is that it can be very unpredictable and it's a very voracious eater of everything. It'll actually, when we put it in the oak casks, if left long enough, it will begin to consume the oak.
Wow.
So, yeah,
Okay. Imagine what it's doing
that
to your
does to-
stomach.
yeah, I was just going to say the same thing.
Well,
What's
it's
this
good-
doing on the way down?
Our stomachs are amazing. Yeah. They have to be, at least for me. Okay, this is really cool. I'm impressed with myself that I could actually smell that.
There you go. You pulled it
Normally, I'm not that perceptive. So
cool.
All right, Beth. And do you guys have craft beers at the public market?
We do, off and on.
Mhm.
We've had Woodland there in the past. Depending on
Woodland
what your mood
is a big secret that I realize it's not a secret, but there are a lot of people that don't know that they can go right up just north of here in Marcy. And is it Marcy technically? Or yeah. And they have a really great place
absolutely.
there. Yeah.
And now they've expanded. They serve meals now, right?
Yep, they do have food
So
now.
you can go and have a all kinds of fun there now.
I like it.
But at the market, our governor signed into law. It's got to be 5 or 6 years ago now. If you're qualified as a farm brewer, which the microbrews are, you can come and participate and sample at farmers markets now. So in the past we've had Adirondacks Distilling. We now have Old Home Distillers with us. We have a Stone Age Winery with us every winter, and we just had. I was telling John before we came on. We just had a new brewer join us called Anything But Beer, that does hard apple cider. So depending on what your mood is when you come into the train station, I can point you in whatever direction you need to go to get your bottle filled.
There's a lot. So you're now back in the train station.
Yes,
here
we are
now,
in the
so-
train station.
Okay.
I'm hoping in the near future that I'll be told that we can stay out in the REA wing for the winter, which is one of the ultimate goals of refurbishing the whole place.
Mhm.
They did a lot of work on it this summer, and it's very exciting to see it kind of like come to life again. It's very exciting. So hopefully, fingers are crossed for next winter, but we're probably going to be in the train station for one more winter, and then after that we'll be out in our permanent home.
That'll be really cool.
That'll be very cool.
Yeah, that's nice.
But this year, this weekend, we got one Saturday. Come in. We have vendors that are only with us for the holidays. So we can help you. We can get everything you need.
It is the big time because
It is.
you're looking for those unique little gifts.
The gifts, you got those last few names on your list that you just don't know what to get them.
Mhm.
I have family members who live out of state that I always find something right before the holiday, and I have to super fast ship it. 2,000 to 4,000 miles from home. And anything you want to put on the table. We have this week, the people will be excited to know the Cheese-Filled Company is going to be with us. So if you entertain a lot of football, NFL fans, you want to stick a pepperoni that's got a big chunk of beautiful cheddar cheese running down the middle of it.
A couple of years ago, we
we've
went
got
to it was this big Valentine's thing. We hopped on a train and went to Albany and spent the weekend in Albany. It was one of those short little getaways.
Mhm.
But we took the train and we got a cabin, which we'd never done before, which was kind of cool. Lots of stories about that. Nothing bad, but just we didn't know what we were doing on there, so we didn't know what we were doing. Anyway.
But it was fun.
So, the whole thing, my wife tried to take the bed down because she wanted to take a nap, and the guy, the porter or whatever he is, got angry and started yelling at us because you're not supposed to put those down on your own. You have to bring someone in to do that.
On the train?
On the train.
Oh.
You do it on your own, right? You could. People didn't kill yourselves. It's like, all right, hey, I didn't do it. She did it. I completely.
How did I get to this age without your advice?
Completely threw her under the train. I'm telling you. So, Anyway, I bought that pepperoni, which has cheese right in the middle of it.
Yeah, but they've got like 8 different kinds of cheese.
Oh, my God, it is
and
delicious.
And now they have like little pickled sausages and all kinds of wonderfulness.
Very cool.
Lots of cheeses. So
the time this weekend is
9 to 1
9 to
inside the main lobby of the Union Station in Bag Square.
All right. And Nagel, one more time, how people can get all. You got to go to the brewery.
You got to go to the brewery, and we're right down the road from Destiny USA on Hiawatha Boulevard in Van Rensselaer. And right now we have a
How close are you to the mall?
You could throw a rock at it.
Really?
Pretty much. It's like 2 blocks.
All right, I'm going to stop in. I have to go there this week.
So if you're going to Destiny USA, stop in after. We open at 11 o'clock.
Okay.
And we have a free gift wrapping station. And you can wrap all your presents there for nothing. And then if you want to
gift wrapping at 11, because by 6 it gets really creative.
Oh, yeah. Where is it? That is the most messy wrapping job I've ever seen in my life.
But it was, but the beer was delicious.
The beer was awesome.
Yep.
So that's really cool.
Yep, and we have a little thing set out there, donation to the Onondaga County ARC, I believe.
Okay,
if you want to
very
make
nice.
a small donation.
All right, so you can check that out, guys. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Cheers.
And you'll both be here for our Christmas Eve show.
Of course.
I hope, anyway. I don't know for sure, but Christmas Eve, 6 a.m. until 12 noon on Christmas Eve.